My name is Eleanor, and that's not a life I imagined. For years, I gave my daughter everything, my time, my love, my sacrifices. I was there for every scraped knee, every sleepless night, every whispered fear she dared not share with anyone else. I thought love was enough. Then, one day, she looked me in the eye and said, "I found a place for you." Just like that. No discussion, no hesitation, only cold certainty that my presence no longer fit into the life she had built. I told myself it was temporary, that she was overwhelmed, that I was helping her somehow. But as I sat in the passenger seat of her car, hands folded neatly in my lap, I realized the truth. I wasn't her mother anymore. I was an obligation, and when we pulled up to the nursing home, the pristine floors, the blank white walls, the hollow smiles, I knew I had been erased. What Emily didn't know was that she had overlooked one thing, my will. And when the lawyer read it, her entire world crumbled. Call to action. Drop your city below. We want to see how far this story has reached. I came out of Delhi's alleyways with grit already powdered into my bones. When Emily arrived, 8 pounds of squalling miracle, I promised the child would never feel the emptiness I'd carried through childhood. Ramesh made the same vow, then vanished 3 winters later to look for work in Dubai. The only sign he ever lived was a flimsy change of address form. Double shifts kept the lights on, dawn in the bakery, midnight mopping offices that reeked of stale toner. Sleep became a rumor, love the only fuel. Emily's first word wasn't mama, it was more, chirped with yogurt dribbling down her chin and the confidence of royalty. I spoon-fed her the last scoops even when rice at home was ration thin. At 16, she burst into the kitchen waving a glossy magazine. "They're doing a Bollywood theme prom. Everyone's wearing sequins." My apron was dusted with cinnamon. I laughed and told her, "Bollywood hasn't seen my needlework." She shook her head. "Not homemade, Mama. I need a dress that catches the spotlight." That night, I pried open an old velvet pouch, slipped my wedding bangles into my coat pocket, and walked to Gupta's pawn counter. The cash barely covered the yardage, but I coaxed the tailor into installments and stitched crystals on bus rides, eyes aching but heart buoyant. The tailor watched me work and wondered why I didn't just buy a ready-made number. "Because ready-made doesn't carry a mother's heartbeat," I said. Prom night she twirled under our flickering ceiling fan, fabric flashing like sunrise. She never asked how I paid for it. The pawn receipt I hid inside the family Bible became my private sacrifice. Emily was 8 when a fever tried to boil her alive. No car, no money, January sleet outside. I wrapped her in my only wool shawl and ran barefoot 3 blocks to Mercy Clinic. The doctor scolded me for not owning shoes. I told him my child owned good lungs and that was enough. My feet bled for a week. She never knew. She was too busy relearning multiplication tables. College years dimmed our Sunday calls. By junior year, her cheerful "Hi, Mama" shrank to distracted hums while her thumbs danced over a phone. When I reminded her to carry a scarf, she rolled her eyes and laughed. "Mom, I'm not a kid anymore." I laughed too, patching pride over the bruise. Senior spring, my phone rang at 2 a.m. Emily's voice rushed through the line. "Mom, the dealership needs a co-signer by morning or I lose the car." I blinked sleep out of my eyes. "A car? I thought the campus shuttle was enough." She sighed. "Everyone drives now, please, just sign. I'll refinance after graduation." I whispered a prayer and faxed my signature from the janitor's closet at work. 3 months later, a letter arrived. Payment overdue. Co-signer liable. My knees buckled. I called her dorm. "Emily, the loan. Haven't you paid anything?" She answered in a hushed, annoyed whisper. "Mom, I'm in a study group. Chill, it's just a late fee." Late fees ballooned. Bakery wages shrank. I surrendered the pawn ticket at last, bangles gone forever, to keep collectors from the door. The groove my ring used to leave felt colder than winter steel. That was the first night I admitted, to the refrigerator light, and no one else, that my daughter might love the things I gave her more than she loved me. After college, she swapped Mama for Mom, then for the curt, "Mom, listen." Eventually, I heard only voicemail. Family dinners shortened while her critique lengthened. She called my decor dated, my spices too strong, my worry helicoptering. One Christmas I spent rent money on a silk scarf I knew she wanted. She unwrapped it, smiled a sliver, and said a newer pattern had dropped last week. But thanks. A shard of resentment lodged under my ribs, small yet sharp enough to bleed. The winter before Maple Ridge an ice storm knocked out power. I slipped shoveling the porch, spraining an ankle. I phoned her, breath hitching. "Could you bring groceries? I can't drive." She answered amid Bluetooth beeps. "Mum, I told you to install a railing. I've got back-to-backs all day. Can't you Instacart?" Dial tone cut deeper than the swelling in my foot. That evening, wrapped in frozen silence, I searched the state website for guardianship rules, just to see how fast society can erase an older woman's choices. Yet I kept giving, babysitting weekends, cash for her HOA fees, editing her resume. Each gift nibbled my future smaller. Then came her verdict. I'm overwhelmed, spoken like I was mildew in her life's grout. Something inside me cooled and solidified. Not anger, volcanic rock, silent, immovable. I opened the cookie jar where I'd stashed dividend notices from a tech stock, shares I'd bought when Emily gushed that the iPod would change the world. Turns out a mother can change her own fate too. I shifted the portfolio into an irrevocable trust called the Phoenix Fund, ownership mine alone, trigger clause, activation upon admission to full-time care. The banker raised an eyebrow. "A rather specific condition, Mrs. Carter." I smiled. "I bake revenge slowly. Needs the right oven temperature. Signature done, fuse laid." Emily didn't know it, but by the time she steered me toward Maple Ridge, under that grey, unforgiving sky, the treasure chest was already padlocked shut. And the key sat in my lawyer's safe, waiting for the day she tried to put me away. Emily chose a Wednesday morning so the neighborhood would be empty. No friendly eyes at windows, no safe travels from Mrs. Green next door. She pulled up in her silver SUV, engine idling, wipers smearing drizzle across the glass. When I opened the passenger door, a stale blast of peppermint gum and anxiety floated out. She didn't budge to help with my overnight bag. Her thumbs kept scrolling. I climbed in slowly, shawl clutched tight. "You sleep at all?" I asked, trying to sound warm, motherly, whatever mothers are supposed to sound like when their child is shipping them off. Emily kept her gaze on the dashboard. "Barely. Quarter-end reports." She clicked her seatbelt like cocking a pistol. "Let's just get on the road." The tires hissed over rain-dark asphalt. 40 minutes we drifted north, radio silent, gutters along the highway puking brown water. I stared at the window's grey sheen and saw my reflection. Baggy eyes, cheeks sinking into themselves, as though the glass wanted me to know exactly why I was being relocated. I tried again. "The twins, how are they handling soccer tryouts?" She exhaled through her nose, a polite version of a groan. "They made JV, you know that. I texted you." "Text got lost," I murmured, but she'd already leaned forward, focusing on a green exit sign that promised coffee and cheap gas. She swung into a Shell station perched behind a billboard for estate planning services. Diesel fumes rolled through my cracked window. Emily tapped her screen. "Decaf latte?" "I'm fine," I said, but she was already out, heels clacking on wet concrete. I watched her through the windshield, phone glued to her ear as she ducked beneath the overhang. The drizzle hid her expression at first, then the wind shifted and her voice came clear. "Yeah, she's in the car," she said into the phone. "Signing went through yesterday, closing by Friday. Of course she doesn't know." She paused, listening. "Look, if the buyers want the place gutted, tell them that's their problem. I just want the check wired by Monday." A fist enclosed my lungs, squeezed hard. She pocketed the phone, adjusted her coat, and stepped inside the mini-mart. My pulse hammered so loud, the rain seemed to hush in respect. Closing by Friday. Our house, my rose bushes, the laundry line where I dried her baby clothes, already traded like poker chips. I fumbled in my purse, found the old flip phone I kept for emergencies, and hit record. The screen blinked red, waiting for her return. Emily came back 5 minutes later, juggling 2 cardboard cups. She offered one. "It's just herbal tea, Mom. Caffeine spikes your blood pressure." I took it with steady hands that betrayed the quake inside. "Thank you," I said, then pressed the phone stop button behind my shawl. Back on the highway, she chatted about market volatility, a safe topic that required no empathy. I nodded at the right places, thinking of the recording now resting inside my purse like a tiny bomb. The SUV's Bluetooth rang. Emily jabbed a button. "This is Emily." Her voice brightened an octave. "Yes, the nursing suite. Correct, level 3 care. She's ambulatory but forgetful." My jaw clenched so tight I feared a tooth would crack. She continued, "Monthly rate is fine. Just bill my card until Medicaid kicks in." I didn't speak. I watched windshield wipers battle the drizzle, heard the quiet warble of the call disconnecting. Emily caught me staring. "What?" "Forgetful," I echoed, trying the word on my tongue. "That's what you told them." "You left the stove on twice, Mum, and you keep misplacing your bank statements." "I misplace things because you borrowed my filing cabinet for your basement declutter." She gripped the steering wheel as though ringing a chicken. "I can't argue every detail. We're almost there." Silence settled again, thicker now, stuffed with half-truths and legalese. 2 exits before Maple Ridge, traffic snarled behind a jackknife delivery truck. Emily cursed softly and swerved onto a frontage road that paralleled the interstate through low industrial blocks. The detour crept behind a shuttered factory, whose cracked windows reflected our car like panes of judgment. A sheriff's cruiser angled across the lane, lights pulsing. Emily rolled down her window as the deputy approached. "Roads washed out ahead," he warned. "Flooding by the canal." She forced a professional smile. "We're heading to Ashton. Any way around?" The deputy scratched his chin. "Backtrack 3 miles, cut through County 7, adds 20 minutes. Emily drummed manicured nails on the steering wheel. "Fine." She U-turned sharply, tires spitting gravel. 20 extra minutes turned highway silence into interrogation. I asked if she remembered her first day of kindergarten, how she clung to my sari and cried because the classroom smelled like chalk. She said she didn't. "I was 5, Mom." I reminded her of the night ride to Mercy Clinic when her fever burned red. She shrugged. "All kids get sick." The more memories I offered, the more she paired them to trivia. Finally she snapped, "Can we not dig up the past? I'm really trying here." I folded my hands. "I should have recorded every lullaby," I said, half to myself. She shook her head, missing the sting in my voice. Maple Ridge squatted behind a strip mall. Faux Victorian gables, shiny nameplate, hedge trimmed into sterile cubes. Emily pulled into the patient drop zone, shifted to park, and exhaled like the final step on a marathon. 2 attendants rolled out a wheelchair, though I needed none. The plastic smile of intake staff gleamed beneath lobby fluorescents. Emily signed forms, her stylus zipping across the tablet. While she tapped, I slipped the flip phone into my handbag's velvet lining, next to the photograph of her at 6 months, the one with mashed banana across her cheeks. The recording icon still winked red. Insurance forms could call me forgetful, but I'd remember to deliver that file to Mitchell Hayes. I watched her walk out to the SUV, brake lights flaring against the grey sky. For the first time since dawn, relief unfurled in my chest. The betrayal was complete, the fuse lit. What she'd buried beneath silence would speak soon, in a lawyer's office, in a clerk's docket, in the echo chamber of her own empty house. As the doors whooshed shut behind her, I whispered, "Drive safe, sweetheart. Storm's just getting started." They called it Maple Ridge Senior Living, as if adding ridge could trick the place into sprouting mountains. From the curb, it looked like a suburban high school, choked by plastic shrubs, the kind of building that holds pep rallies in the gym and secrets in the boiler room. A receptionist in coral lipstick chirped, "Welcome home," and handed me a vinyl wrist tag, the adult version of a dog collar. Room 112B sat at the far end of Cedar Wing, a corridor forever scented with the chemical compromise of lavender air freshener and bleach. Lorraine, My assigned roommate snored like a faulty sump pump behind a half-drawn curtain. She never woke for introductions. The sedatives saw to that. Breakfast, if you could wound the word so, arrived at 6:58 a.m. on wobbly trays. Tepid oatmeal, half-melted apple slices, 2 pink pills, 1 yellow. A young aide named Carol announced, "Time for your happy meds, ladies." I asked what they were. She shrugged. Standard supplement sheet. I slid them back and tightened my lips. She scribbled non-compliant on a chart the size of the Dead Sea Scrolls. At 10 a.m., group crafts. A girl barely old enough to rent a car led us through mindful coloring. I chose crimson and filled the page until roses looked like bullet wounds. Shift change brought Alma, 40-ish, hair in a lopsided bun, eyes tired but kind. She noticed my untouched supper tray and whispered, "Real food still exists, Mrs. Carter. Meet me by the vending machines after rounds." True to her word, 11 p.m. Sharp, she produced contraband samosas wrapped in paper towel. "You don't look sick," she said, handing me a triangle of fried salvation. "Just sidelined," I answered. "Big difference." One afternoon I found Hammond arguing with the kitchen manager over expired yogurt deliveries. He hissed, "No refunds, just change the date labels," not realizing I stood 10 feet away watering a plastic fern. I kept my face blank and my mental notepad open. Trouble struck 6 nights in. I woke to the screech of an alarm and the stench of melting plastic. Hall lights strobed angry red. Smoke folded along the ceiling tiles like dirty lace. Lorraine wheezed, drugged and disoriented. Sprinklers gagged, coughed out a mist fine as gossip, almost no water pressure. I yanked the curtain, slapped her cheeks. "Up, fire," she mumbled, eyes rolling. I dragged her off the mattress, half-carried her into the hall where residents milled in nightgowns, some crying, some laughing, their meds twisting terror into carnival. A fluorescent exit sign flickered above a side stairwell, but flames licked the baseboards near the laundry chute. Acrid smoke nipped my throat. Alma burst from the other end, keys jangling, coughing instructions no aide obeyed. I shouted louder than the siren. "Follow the nurse, single file, hand on the rail." They moved, a sluggish, stumbling snake, but they moved. Alma and I herded them down one flight, then across to the rear garden door. Rain pummeled the courtyard. Steam hissed when it met the smouldering laundry carts we'd escaped. Firefighters arrived 7 minutes later, eternity rewritten in heat. Hammond showed up 10 after that, hair immaculate, suit pressed, face green. He barked at Alma first. "You left your station." "She saved 12 people," I cut in, voice a rasp. "Where were you? Relabeling yogurt?" His jaw twitched. "Mrs. Carter, you're in no condition to judge policy." I lifted a wrist still smeared with soot. "Policy is what almost cooked us alive. I have family at the Tribune, Mr. Hammond. They adore catastrophe." The deputy fire chief interrupted, documenting the sprinkler failure. Alma's eyes met mine, a question hovering. I nodded. I would talk, loudly, publicly, if Hammond dared retaliate. By sunrise, Cedar Wing smelled like boiled towels and panic. Residents whispered that 2 alarms last month had mysteriously reset before staff responded. Hammond patrolled with damage control pep, promising upgrades. I took notes anyway. Alma found me near the vending machines, slipped a fresh cup of chai into my hands. "He'll try to bury this," she warned. "Let him dig," I said. "The hole will be ready when he falls in." She smiled, first genuine smile I'd seen grace those hallways, then squeezed my hand. Maple Ridge went back to its rehearsed routine, but something fundamental had shifted. Residents now glanced my way before swallowing their medication cups. Aides tried a little harder to pronounce last names correctly. Hammond kept his distance, eyes skittering away whenever I wheeled Lorraine past his office. I mailed 2 letters that week, one to the state elder care inspector, another to Mitchell Hayes. The envelope to Mitchell included a detailed account of the fire and a separate page listing every incident I'd witnessed. Mislabeled yogurt, over-sedation, broken bed rails. Evidence, the lawyer later said. With teeth. My daughter thought she'd hidden me in silence. Instead, she'd delivered me to a stage, an audience gasping for any voice not drugged into compliance. I cleared my throat, ready to speak, and Maple Ridge, for the first time in years, finally listened. Maple Ridge scheduled family hours for Sundays at 2, right after the post-lunch drowsiness, when most residents dozed in recliners and the hall smelled of tapioca. 2:00 on the dot, stilettos clicked across the lobby tile. Emily's entrance music. She wore a blazer the color of wet cement, hair perfect, lips set in the corporate half-smile that lands just short of warmth. I was waiting in a wheelchair I didn't need, a prop the nurse insisted on to conserve energy. Alma hovered nearby, sorting charts yet close enough if reinforcements were required. Emily spotted me, waved her phone as if we were across a busy street instead of 10 feet of polished floor. "Hi, Mom, you look okay," she said, and kissed the air near my cheek. The perfume was floral, expensive, and thin as an apology. I replied that I felt as sturdy as the building's sprinklers, which earned a tight chuckle from Alma and a confused blink from my daughter. Emily launched into bullet points before we hit the day room. A new merger at work, the twins' homework load, how traffic on I-90 was a nightmare. Honestly, the city needs to fix that interchange. I added polite nods in the pauses, the way passengers thanked the flight attendant for crash landing instructions. We parked by a laminate table speckled with bingo chips. Emily opened her tote and produced a slim folder stamped with the logo of ClearPath Realty. "They need your signature," she said. "Final escrow adjustment. Then I can close by Friday." "My house sold that quickly?" I asked. I managed to lay surprise with just enough tremor to sell it. "Cash buyers," she said, sliding the form across. "Market's insane." Lorraine shuffled up in her fleece robe, recognized Emily from television ads that ran between daytime court shows, and whispered, "Your daughter looks famous." Emily flashed stage teeth. Lorraine drifted away, satisfied. I peeled back the first sheet. It transferred all remaining equity, mine, to a shell LLC Emily's lawyer had created 3 days earlier. Her voice softened, coaxing. "Initial there and here and you can relax. No more paperwork headaches." I reached for the pen, then hesitated. "Funny," I said, "how headaches multiply when you ignore them. Like stove burners." She sighed. Performative patience. "Mum, please." I rearranged my day. "And your mother's life," I said. "Quite the calendar trick." Spike moment materialized in the doorway as Mitchell Hayes stepped in, raincoat draped over his arm, briefcase glimmering. He spotted me, nodded once, then addressed Emily with the politeness of a butcher sharpening knives. "Miss Carter, Mitchell Hayes, Estate Counsel. May I borrow your mother?" His baritone carried through the hush of dozing residents. Emily squared her shoulders. "Mum already has an attorney. My firm's handling everything." "Actually," Mitchell said, "she retained me 6 weeks ago. There's a matter of durable power." Emily's brow folded. "I have power of attorney. Signed years ago." Mitchell opened the briefcase like a stage magician. "Revoked. Effective the date Mrs. Carter was declared competent following her last physical." He produced a notarized sheet. "Here's the physician's letter. Full cognition, no dependency. Maple Ridge accepted her as a private client, not a medical commitment. Therefore, any prior POA triggered by diminished capacity is null." Emily's complexion turned the color of skim milk. "That's impossible. She's forgetful." "Not according to Dr. Rogers," Mitchell said. He slid the letter across the table and, almost casually, his thumb tapped the side of my old flip phone, now in an evidence bag. A tinny playback filled the space. My daughter's voice at the gas station, clear as summer glass. "If the buyers want the place gutted, that's their problem. I just want the check wired by Monday." Residents nearby stirred, heads cocking like birds. Alma gripped the back of my chair, steadying us both. Emily's mouth dropped open, then snapped shut. "You recorded me?" "Mom, how could you?" I shrugged. Forgetfulness has its advantages. People assume you're too muddled to push record. The receptionist at her desk stopped pretending to type. Mr. Hammond, hearing the commotion, slipped behind a ficus and pretended to study a maintenance log. Mitchell cleared his throat. There's more. He listed each act: the forged cosign loan, the unauthorized home listing, the misrepresentation of my medical status. For every bullet point he supplied a document, a timestamp, a witness. Emily's hand shook. The pen rattled against the table. Alma broke ranks, leaning forward. You tried to gut her house? The one with the yellow roses? Emily shot her a glare. This is family business. It became public the moment you endangered a competent adult, Mitchell said. He gathered the realty papers and tucked them into his briefcase. Ms. Carter, any sale attempt after today constitutes fraud. My office will file an injunction within the hour. Emily stood abruptly, chair legs screeching. You can't do this, Mom. I've poured months into that sale. I advanced fees. Do you even understand the financial hit? I understand what 30 years of double shifts cost, I said quietly. A hit, you call it. She opened her mouth, closed it. Fury and calculation sparred behind her eyes. Fine, she spat. Enjoy your martyr act. She spun on her heel, stilettos stabbing laminate with each step. Emily, I called. She paused but didn't turn. I held up the paper cup of herbal tea she'd insisted on bringing last visit. You worry about my blood pressure. Consider yours. The door thudded after her. Silence oozed into the day room until Lorraine whispered, that was better than daytime TV. A ripple of chuckles followed, small but real, the laughter of people long starved for agency. Mitchell exhaled. Phase 1 complete, I thanked him. Phase 2? Media, regulators, civil court. Hammond's fire suppression failure pairs nicely with your daughter's neglect. Class action air smells sweeter than potpourri. He closed the briefcase. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Fund is live, dispersing scholarships next quarter. Alma squeezed my shoulder. Scholarships? For single mothers, I explained, named after someone who sells samosas at midnight. Her eyes glistened. She wiped them on her sleeve. I should get back to rounds. Take tomorrow off, Mitchell said. I'll cover the shift differential. She laughed. Lawyers don't pay nurses. This one does, for witnesses. When she left, Mitchell turned serious. You all right? I felt the room settle, felt the ache of years unstacking themselves like empty boxes, better than I've been since the day she learned to say more. He handed me a fresh copy of the injunction to tuck beside my journal. Expect resistance. Entitled people claw harder when reality replaces fantasy. I clawed through poverty, I said. Her nails are French-tipped, mine are steel. Mitchell smiled, tipped his hat, and departed the way he'd come, raincoat slung over one arm. Courtroom weather on the horizon. I wheeled myself to the window. Outside, clouds gathered like ink in water, waiting for an author's hand. Maple Ridge's fake shrubbery trembled in the wind. Somewhere beyond those hedges, Emily merged onto the interstate, shouting at Bluetooth ghosts. Let her rage. Every mile carried her farther from the loot she'd plotted to claim and closer to the reckoning she'd written for herself. In the reflection on the glass, I saw a woman with soot-smudged wrists, cinnamon-burned scars, a pawn receipt long repaid, and eyes bright enough to torch a lie. The staff might still label me non-compliant. Let them. Compliance never saved anybody. It only saves paperwork. Behind me, the bingo caller announced the next game. Blackout round, cover every square. I grinned at the window. Seemed fitting. I rolled back toward the day room, voice loud enough for Hammond to hear through his ficus. Put my name on the roster, I said. I came here to win. Clerks at the courthouse posted the docket like a lunch menu. Carter v. Carter, petition to void power of attorney. People vs. Hammond, negligence resulting in elder endangerment. Reporters angled microphones at anyone wearing silver hair. They wanted blood or tears. Either would headline well. Mitchell guided me to a wooden bench outside courtroom 3B. Emily filed a motion to dismiss at midnight, he said. voice low, claimed you were coerced by malicious staff into revoking her POA. I opened my purse and patted the evidence bag housing the old flip phone. Tell the judge the malicious staff has a ringtone. Doors swung wide. Deputy bailiff called us in. The room smelled of damp wool and anticipation. Emily sat at respondent's table in a sharp navy suit. Her lawyer, Gerald Price, leaned in, whispering the way magicians palm coins. On their desk lay a glossy photo of me gripping a walker, taken the day after the fire when my ankle still ached. The prop had served Hammond's insurance report, and now Emily's narrative. Frail, helpless, forgetful. Judge Reese entered, robes swishing like thunderclouds. She reviewed filings with the speed of a paper shredder. "Ms. Carter," she said, pinning Emily with a stare, "you assert your mother lacks legal capacity." Emily's voice quavered just enough for sympathy. "My mother becomes disoriented. Staff at Maple Ridge manipulate her decisions." Reese turned to me. "Mrs. Carter, do you understand these proceedings?" I spoke clearly. "Yes, Your Honor, I do. My mind is a steel trap. Just ask anyone who's tried prying it open." Price objected to the tone. Reese waved him down. "We will decide capacity through evidence, Counselor. Proceed with your first witness." Price called Hammond, who walked like a man strapped to invisible sandbags. He took the stand, hand trembling over the oath. Price asked him to describe the night of the fire. Hammond stuck to rehearsed lines. Minor smoke, sprinklers functional, residents safely evacuated. Mitchell rose, flipping a page. "Sir, Exhibit 14, State Fire Marshal Report. It says sprinkler riser valve was shut off. Who holds that key?" Hammond's jaw worked air. "Maintenance must have—" Mitchell interrupted. "Maintenance testified deposition yesterday. Key kept in your office lockbox." He slid the report to the judge. Murmurs rippled through spectators. Spike moment burst when Alma stood at the rear, holding a tarnished keyring in a clear bag. Deputy escorted her forward. Mitchell asked permission. Reese nodded. Alma kept her eyes on Hammond. "I found this on Mr. Hammond's desk during cleanup. He'd labeled it wash cycle to hide it." Price objected. Reese overruled. Hammond melted into the witness chair. Emily's shoulders stiffened. Her castle gained another crack. Price scrambled, tried redirecting focus. "Your Honor, my client's case concerns elder decisions, not facility sprinkler valves." Reese raised an eyebrow. "Negligence informs credibility." She dismissed Hammond, denying his chance at rebuttal. He slunk to the gallery, sweat bleaching his collar. Emily whispered urgently to Price. He nodded and called his trump card, Dr. Alan Peters, geriatric consultant Emily had paid for phone sessions. Peters testified I suffered episodic confusion per Emily's descriptions. Mitchell's cross was surgical. He produced clinic logs, showing Peters never examined me, never even stepped into Maple Ridge. Reese frowned. "Doctor, are you aware state law bars remote diagnosis in capacity hearings?" Peters stammered, realizing his fee just bought perjury. Price sat down, shoulders sagging. Mitchell stood, briefcase snapping. Petitioner calls final witness, Detective Velasquez, cybercrime. The detective testified how Emily's Realty LLC funneled earnest money deposits into her personal trading account, screenshots projected onto courtroom monitors, timestamps, transfers, emoji-filled texts, boasting about flipping Grandma's bungalow. Emily shot from her seat. Those messages were jokes, totally out of context. Judge Reese rapped her gavel once. The sound felt like a lid slamming on coffin nails. Mitchell closed. Ms. Carter exploited guardianship documents, falsified her mother's health, and attempted unlawful conversion of assets. We request immediate revocation of all powers, restitution triple damages, and referral to the district attorney for elder abuse. Price's closing limped. Family misunderstandings, cultural guilt, stressful jobs. His voice shrank against the courtroom walls. Reese adjourned to chambers. 10 minutes ticked by. Loud, awful heartbeats of wood and marble. Emily avoided my gaze, twisting a pen until it snapped. Bailiff's call. All rise. Reese settled on the bench, eyes stern but steady. Findings, she began. The court affirms Eleanor Carter's full legal capacity. Previous power of attorney in favor of Emily Carter is revoked permanently. Emily's knees buckled. Price steadied her. Reese continued. Emily Carter knowingly misrepresented medical facts, tampered with property records, and endangered the petitioner's welfare. Financial restitution to Eleanor Carter's trust is awarded at treble damages, totaling $682,000, and statutory penalties. Matter referred to the county prosecutor. Gasps erupted. Flashbulbs through hallway windows lit like war. Emily wobbled forward. Your Honor, please, a payment plan. Reese's gavel slammed. Speak with probation. Next case. Deputies approached. One handed Emily a citation for arraignment. She stared at me, mascara trembling. Mom, you don't have to press charges. We can fix this. I met her eyes, a panorama of the years unspooling. Yogurt-sticky toddler, sequined prom queen, forged lone graduate, benevolent dictator with stilettos, I answered softly. Fixing starts with the truth. Keep the dollar from my will. Use it wisely. Deputies escorted her out. Hammond followed, wrists hugged by cuffs. Cameras chased them down the marble corridor. Reporters pivoted to me. Microphones bloomed like iron flowers. I raised one palm. Ask Alma, she's the hero. But Alma stepped aside. This isn't my story, she said. It's yours. Mitchell offered his arm. We walked past the press, my cardigan brushing shoulders of strangers who smiled and whispered, Good for you. Outside, courthouse steps shone with rain. A young blogger thrust a phone for comment. I leaned toward the mic. Remember this, not every mother waits for rescue. Some of us draft the blueprint and bring the wrecking ball. Traffic hissed on Main Street, puddles reflecting red brake lights like liquid rubies. Mitchell hailed a cab. We climbed in. The driver recognized me from morning news. He asked where to. I replied, Maple Ridge, Cedar Wing, then added, but take the scenic route. I'd like to watch the city tonight. As we pulled away, the courthouse receded, a silhouette against storm-cleared sky. Inside the cab, upholstery smelled of vanilla trees and second chances. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. For the first time in years, every choice ahead belonged only to me, and silence sounded like freedom. News vans beat me back to Maple Ridge. Their satellites rose like mechanical cobras above the parking lot. Anchors rehearsed breathless intros about the courtroom bombshell that rocked elder law precedent. Inside, Cedar Wing hummed with rumors. Every resident who could shuffle had clustered by the picture windows. Alma waited near the nurse's station, house-deed envelope clutched to her chest. Ready for your victory chai? She asked. I nodded, throat suddenly dry. We retreated to the kitchenette, where she spooned cardamom leaves into a dented kettle. Steam curled, nerves settled. The automatic doors whooshed. Emily burst in, hair wind-whipped, pupils wild. 2 sheriff's deputies flanked her but stayed back. A seizure order required her signature, not handcuffs. She scanned the hall until her gaze locked on the envelope in Alma's grip. That's my mother's house, she hissed, heels clicking toward us. Alma stepped between us. It belongs to the foundation now. Papers are recorded. Emily laughed, sharp as broken slate. Foundations can be dissolved, courts reversed. All I need is the original deed. She fixed on me, voice softening to the bedtime tone she once used for apologies. Mom, give it to me and we walk away. No fines, no jail, I swear. I lifted my teacup. Swearing never paid a debt, Emily. She inched closer, palm out. Please, you've proved your point. Don't ruin my life. Steam fogged my glasses. I removed them, saw her without filters, fear skittering under bravado. Actions ruined your life, I said. I just turned on the lights. Deputy Morris approached. Ma'am, we need her signature for voluntary asset turnover. Otherwise, we execute a physical lien. Emily's mask cracked. Physical lien? You mean seize my accounts? Morris nodded. Including your firm's escrow if commingled. Emily wheeled on me, desperation curdling into rage. You're destroying everything. The kids' tuition, my career. Your children still have grandparents, I said. Care for them with decency and they'll never starve. Alma pushed the envelope toward the deputy. Emily slapped it off the counter. Papers scattered like startled doves. Alma gasped. Morris stepped forward. Emily snatched the deed, backed away, eyes shiny with feral calculation. Stop, Morris ordered. That document is court property. Emily's fingers trembled, grip whitening. Not until I talked to Mum alone. Residents murmured, cell phones filmed. I set my chai down, heart hammering. Emily, you're cornering yourself. She shook her head. No, you cornered me. She pivoted, sprinted toward the fire exit stairs, clutching the deed. Alma yelled, Sprinkler lobby door, dead end. Deputies lunged, radio squawking. I grabbed my cane and followed, adrenaline overriding age. Down the stairwell echo chamber, I heard Emily's shoes skid, then a metallic clang. She'd hit the alarm bar. Red strobes erupted, siren wail flooding every floor, the same shriek from the laundry fire night. Smoke doors slammed automatically. Magnetic locks thudded. The corridor lights flickered as the emergency generator kicked on. Panic rippled through the wing, patients shouting, staff barking codes. At the base of the stairs, I spotted her silhouette. Hem of her blazer caught in the draft, deed clutched like a life raft. Water from the ceiling dripped. Not sprinkler runoff, but steady, ominous. The old riser valve must have cracked after months of neglect. Brown water pooled around her stilettos. She looked up, mascara streaked. It's leaking. Help me. Deputy Morris reached the landing behind me. Mrs. Carter, stand back, structural hazard. Water gushed harder, pipes groaning overhead. Emily slipped, deed floating from her grasp into the rising puddle. Her hand slapped concrete, eyes huge. She screamed my name, once, twice, voice swallowed by echo and siren. I stepped to the threshold, floor vibrating, steam hissing from a ruptured joint above her. Alma's shout echoed down the stairwell. Eleanor, move. The pipe's going to... The metal ruptured with a deafening crack. And that's where everything froze.